The metallic clang of boots echoed through the detention block as Commander Jake Morrison approached the holding cells. His standard-issue plasma rifle hung at his side, its weight familiar after 3 years of service with the Terran Defense. Coalition. The war against the Keth Empire had been brutal, claiming millions of lives across 17 star systems. Today, he was here to witness justice, or so his superiors claimed. The alien prisoner stood defiant in her cell, her scaled purple skin gleaming under the harsh artificial lights. Her species, the Keth, had been humanity's greatest enemy for decades. This particular warrior had been captured during the siege of Proxima Station, where she had single-handedly destroyed 3 human cruisers before her ship was finally disabled. Prisoner designation K7749, announced Lieutenant Brooks, reading from his datapad. Scheduled for execution in 30 minutes. High Command wants you to observe the proceedings, Commander. Jake nodded, but something felt wrong. The alien warrior Vera, according to her service record, wasn't cowering like most prisoners facing death. Instead, she studied him with intelligent amber eyes that seemed to pierce through his armor and straight into his soul. You are different from the others, Vera said, her voice carrying the melodic accent of her people. I can see it in your stance. You question this war. I follow orders, Jake replied curtly, though her words struck closer to home than he cared to admit. The past months had been troubling. Jake had witnessed the escalation of human tactics, the willingness to target civilian populations, the propaganda that painted all Keth as monsters. Yet here stood a warrior who had shown mercy to human survivors, who had transmitted medical supplies to refugee ships, even while under fire. Do you know why I fight? Vera asked, stepping closer to the energy barrier that separated them. My homeworld was the first to fall when your species discovered faster-than-light travel. We did not attack. First, we welcomed you with open arms. Your leaders saw our technology, our resources, and decided we were a threat to be eliminated. Jake's hand tightened on his rifle. The official history taught in military academies painted a different picture. The Keth as aggressive expansionists who had fired the first shots of the war. But classified reports he had access to as a commander told a more complex story. The execution chamber is prepared, Brooks announced, returning with a squad of guards. Time to move the prisoner. As the energy barrier flickered off, Jake watched Vera stand tall, accepting her fate with dignity. The Keth warrior had earned 17 battle commendations from her own military, had saved countless lives of her own people, and had shown honor even in defeat. She deserved better than a propaganda execution. The procession moved through the sterile corridors of the prison complex. Jake found himself walking beside Vera, her chains clinking softly with each step. Other prisoners watched from their cells. Humans captured during raids, Keth civilians arrested on suspicion of espionage. The lines between enemy and ally had blurred beyond recognition. Commander Morrison, Vera spoke quietly. There is something you should know. The attack on Proxima Station was not unprovoked. Your fleet had already destroyed 3 of our medical ships. We were responding to a distress call from survivors. Jake's blood ran cold. Those medical ships had been classified as potential weapons platforms in the mission briefing. The decision to fire had been made by Admiral Hayes, who had been pushing for more aggressive tactics against Keth non-combatants. They reached the execution chamber, a small room with viewing windows for observers. Vera was secured to the execution platform, while Jake took his position behind the reinforced glass. The firing squad consisted of 6 soldiers, their faces hidden behind tactical masks. Any last words? The execution officer asked. Vera looked directly at Jake through the window. Tell them that some battles are worth losing if it means preserving what makes us human. The firing squad raised their weapons. Jake felt the weight of his sidearm, the security codes he knew by heart, but years of training that had prepared him for split-second decisions. In that moment, he realized that following orders and doing what was right were not always the same thing. The execution officer raised his hand to signal the firing squad. Jake drew his plasma pistol and fired through the observation window, shattering the reinforced glass. Alarms blared throughout the facility as he leaped into the execution chamber, his shots forcing the guards to dive for cover. "This way," Jake shouted, releasing Vera's restraints with his command codes. The alien warrior didn't hesitate, grabbing a fallen guard's weapon and covering their escape route. They fought their way through the detention block, Jake's knowledge of the facility's layout proving invaluable. His former comrades hesitated to fire, confused by their commander's sudden betrayal. That hesitation cost them precious seconds. The escape pod bay was their destination's small craft that could reach the asteroid field where Keth resistance fighters were known to operate. Jake had made his choice, and there was no going back. As their escape pod launched into the void, Vera turned to him. "You have sacrificed everything for someone you barely know. Why?" Jake stared at the stars ahead, knowing he would never see. "Earth again. Because the moment we stop seeing our enemies as people worthy of mercy, we become the monsters we claim to fight against." The war would continue, but perhaps, in some small way, they had planted a seed of hope. Two warriors from opposing sides, united by a shared belief that honor transcended species, and that some principles were worth any sacrifice. Behind them, the prison complex grew smaller, carrying with it Jake's old life and everything he had once believed about duty and loyalty.